So, Super Rugby round 17, the Saturday games are all done and dusted. Pretty surprising, some of these results. Also surprising was the fact that my microphone decided not to work anymore. So, apologies if the sound on this one is not the best. I'll see what I can do by getting a new one. The first game in Fiji, the Chiefs take the Highlanders down 45 points to 22. I think if you'd told the Highlanders before this game you're going to score 22 points to 3 in the second half, they'd be pretty happy. But nobody told the Highlanders to show up for the first half. They must have still been in Dunedin because the Chiefs just ran riot. It is the most one-sided display I've seen between two New Zealand teams in a very long time. And this one didn't involve the Blues, which is just a miracle. Alemalo scored, Pulu scored, Tuinukuafe scored, Jacobson, Whitelock got yellow carded, and then Wainui, and then Pulu again. So it's 14 points during the yellow card, 42 points in the first half. It was amazingly one-sided. But then if you'd said to the Chiefs, hey, you guys are going to be leading 42 points to nil at halftime, and you're not going to get a winning bonus point, I don't think many people would have believed you, because the Highlanders, to their credit, did come back, scoring 22 points. 2 tries to Walden. Sayuli got a try, and Frizzell got a try. Allardyce was yellow carded for the Chiefs. But yeah, 22 points to 45 at the end of the day is a pretty convincing scoreline for the Chiefs being in the away team. The most popular feature of this game for the Fijian crowd seemed to be Damian McKenzie's smile. He got some pretty boisterous cheers every time he smiled. The Highlanders tackling percentage 65. That's bad. Will this game come back to be rude by their fans at the end of the season? The organisers, I know it's great to take games to new locations, especially to the islands, when so many players from the Pacific have done such a good job for Super Rugby teams, especially in New Zealand. But Forsyth Bar is such a fortress for the Highlanders, and then they go away from home and get dealt to. So it's pretty costly. The Chiefs passed them on the table now by a point. But like I said, the Highlanders did manage to deny the Chiefs that one bonus point. The Chiefs kicked one penalty when they probably could have gone for a try. They were pretty comfortably in front. So that might be something that comes back to bite them. But the Chiefs have still got fourth in their sights, especially with other results going their way. They do have the Brumbies at home next week, and they finish their home stretch with a game against the Highlanders, not the Highlanders, the Hurricanes. So they've got a direct chance to steal points from the Hurricanes and perhaps clinch that fourth spot and a home finals match. I haven't seen this many poor performances from Highlanders guys from a while. Sopoaga, especially in that first half, was pretty atrocious. Damian McKenzie, on the other hand, was pretty lethal with that boot and with his setup plays. So yeah, this is a big victory for the Chiefs. Really puts them back in contention. They've kind of been a little bit forgotten about with some results not going their way, but this puts them right back up there. Like I said, the Highlanders, great at home, not always the best away. And unless they can shift things up, I mean, they got the Crusaders next week away. So you got to think that in all likelihood the Highlanders are going to be playing their first finals match away, which could be pretty challenging. Some people saying that they're managing to avoid the kind of poison chalice of fifth spot, because whoever finishes fifth will play fourth, which will likely be the second best New Zealand team. So people saying that you're better off travelling to Australia or travelling to South Africa rather than playing the second place New Zealand team. But yeah, I guess we will wait and see, because at this rate they could be going down even further. So we'll see how things go. Who finishes in fourth kind of really remains to be seen. Second game, the Brumbies have upset the Hurricanes 24 points to 12 over in Canberra. The lead only changed once in this game. The Hurricanes took a quick lead with TJ Perenara scoring a very just good heads-up play try, because he saw what the Brumbies were doing in their clearance on their own line, and he just intercepted the ball, took a kind of a Superman dive, and yes, just dotted it straight down. Extraordinary stuff if you haven't seen the highlights. The Brumbies got hit back with a try, but not converted. Julian Xavier got his second try of the season, so that was about 15 minutes. The Hurricanes were on 12 points, and that was it for them for the game, because the next three tries, second half, Faenga, Arnold, and Muirhead all for the Brumbies, so 24 points to 12. Pretty disappointing for the Hurricanes. This is 3 in a row. What has happened to their season? It's not gone the way it was supposed to go. Just before the June tests, they were still in a pretty good spot, and it's turning a wee bit to custard. Not that they're still, they're still in a very strong position, but it's under a bit of threat at the moment. TJ Perenara doesn't like David Pocock. He was chirping him a fair bit, and I'm not sure how much benefit he was getting from it. I feel like he probably could have focused a bit more on the game, but I suppose at that point when he was doing most of the chirping, they were up 12 points to 5, and that was how it was at halftime, even though the Brumbies had more territory in possession. It finished up with the same. Brumbies 58% possession, 60% territory, half the penalties conceded, so 12 to the Hurricanes, 6 to the Brumbies. Brumbies 13 offloads to the Hurricanes 9. I know they had more ball, but you don't really think of the Brumbies as a real offloading team. Run meters 500 to the Brumbies, 390 to the Canes. Again, more ball, but Brumbies traditionally a kick and maul team. Not this week. They were definitely playing more enterprising. The coach, Dan McKellar, talked at the start of the season about wanting to shift their way of play, and we're perhaps finally seeing it. It's kind of do or die time for the Brumbies. And, they're trying to do it. They've still got a very slim chance of making the playoffs. It is very slim. They travel away to Hamilton to play the Chiefs next week. They would need a win. But, hey, they beat the Hurricanes here, so you never know. Hurricanes have got the Blues at home, so in theory an easy win. But the Hurricanes are on a rotten run, and the Blues just got a win, so you never know. And then they play the Chiefs, which could become a direct battle for that number 4 spot. Next game in Singapore, Sunwolves 42, Bulls 37. The Bulls needed to step up and to win to have any hopes of making the playoffs, and they absolutely failed. It's a rotten performance. There were some glimpses of things, but this is such a disappointing performance for Bulls fans. Their season's, that's it. I mean, I think they're 10 points behind the playoffs, and they can only get 10 points from here. Yeah, this was there for them to take it, and they just did not. So, I mean, the Sunwolves still have a chance to avoid the wooden spoon, so there's a bit to play for. You got to wonder how well the Sunwolves could have done this season if they'd had a chance to really settle players in and get a proper preseason, because they do come off straight at the end of that Japanese top league season. And they looked good up until a couple of weeks before the June break when they lost all their international players, but yeah, I mean, they've beaten the Bulls here. It was a pretty poor crowd. They get a good crowd every time in Japan, but in Singapore that was a pretty disappointing crowd. I'm not sure what the numbers were, but it looked pretty bad. The Bulls had the best of the set piece, but unable to really take advantage of it. The Sunwolves defence was there when it counted in terms of scrummaging. I mean, the lead changed in this game about 4 times, so it was really tit for tat. Parker got a try and converted it. Uchida got a try and it was converted. So 14-0 to Sunwolves. Good lead. Creel got 2 tries. I think Vanden Hever forgot who he was playing for, because he used to play for the Bulls. I think he thought he was still playing for the Bulls because he was the best. He was the best player for the Bulls early on, gifting Creel those 2 tries, although he did hit back with his own one for the Sunwolves a bit later. Brits was yellow carded, but the Sunwolves managed to score a try as well during that yellow card period, so it ended up 10 points to 7 to the Bulls, which is not really what you call capitalising on the team with a man down. At their best, I think the Bulls went up to a 31-21 lead, but then the Sunwolves just managed to run them down with tries. The Bulls going for penalties, and it wasn't enough to hold them out. Michael Little is just a massive player. It's hard to believe that he could have played for the Blues, but I mean, in terms of tackle busts, he's the second best player in Super Rugby. He's top 10 for run meters. He's 11th for offloads. He's top 20 for line breaks. He's top 3 if you just exclude, if you narrow it down to only guys in the midfield. He is the number 1 back for forcing turnovers on the ground, getting penalties. So he's having a massive season, and it's really a pity. I mean, good for the Sunwolves. great, take him and get the best out of him. But it's just a pity that he could have been playing for the Blues. I suppose both teams are in similar positions at the bottom of the table, so it might not have made a difference. But it's a bit disappointing if you're a Blues fan to see all the talent that leaves and goes to blossom kind of elsewhere. The Sunwolves have got the Waratahs away next week, so like I said, they can avoid the wooden spoon. They're only, I think, 3 or 4 points behind the Reds, so we'll see how the Reds go as well. The Bulls have got the Jaguares at home, so the Bulls have got nothing else to play for other than to kind of spoil some other teams on their run to the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Like I said, really disappointing for the Bulls on this one. They really need to step it up. But good on the Sunwolves. That's 3 wins. And that's the best record they've had in the Super Rugby season. So we'll see if they can do anything for their last 2 games. The next one, I'm probably wearing the wrong shirt. I wish I had my Sharks shirt with me. The Sharks have beaten the Lions 31 points to 24, and the Lions are in trouble. The Lions are in trouble. They've only got 1 game left because they've got a bye. And the Jaguares winning in the game after means that if the Jaguares win their games, they will pip the Lions for that top spot in South Africa. Now, the Lions have always been able to score points this season. 24 points away from home is not too bad, but they are just defensively not able to keep teams out. And especially, you look at the stats in this game. The Lions had all the territory, like 68%, 73% possession and territory in the first half, only 10 points up. Should have been more. By full time, it was 36% territory, 36% possession to the Sharks and 24% territory. But the Sharks' tackling was 89%, so credit to the Sharks. They knew, similar position to the Bulls, that it was do or die, and they stepped up. So, I mean, credit to them. The Lions' attack's usually enough to get them over the line, even if they leak a few points. I mean, their tackling percent was 70% compared to the Sharks' 89%. In terms of overall season stats, the Lions are 3rd for allowing teams to get over the advantage line. They're 5th in conceding run meters. They are 6th in points conceded average for the whole season. And usually, like I said, usually it doesn't matter because the Lions can score enough points to still get the win, but not in this case. Their attack just wasn't firing. Even with these key guys back, it wasn't enough. I mean, they were up at halftime, but too many times that Sharks defense was too good. Too many times the Lions couldn't get over the line, and when the Sharks needed to up their game in the kind of final 20 minutes of that game, they did. Tries in this game, Esterhuizen and Mvovo kind of got tries late, like 57 minutes, and Mvovo's one was a bit later than that, 67. So enough to take the lead, enough to take the win. Some good tries to the Lions as well, but it's not looking good. I mean, finals, sure, but home finals much more important. I mean, I know the Jaguares are by no means guaranteed to pass them, but they could have guaranteed it for themselves if they got a win here, and they could have shut the Sharks out for this season, but not to be. The Sharks wanted it more. The Sharks got the win. The last one, the Jaguares have beaten the Stormers 25 points to 14. Stormers' season's just gone nowhere, really. It's been pretty poor. They've not managed to win any games away. It was always going to be hard to go to Argentina, but it was a perfect chance given how these guys playing for the Jaguares have been playing for the Pumas and playing so poorly. The Springboks guys have been playing relatively well, but there was just a role reversal this week. The Stormers, I mean, they competed all right, but just handling errors. They're still not cohesive at week 17. They still look like they've kind of just come together. I know they've had injuries and some of the combinations aren't there, but it's just not good enough, really. They've only got 1 game left in their season now because they got the bye in the final week, so they've got the Sharks at home. If nothing else, they've got a chance to kind of spoil the Sharks season, but that's about it. So, yeah, the Jaguares have put themselves in the driving seat. They've got a chance to pass the Lions, but they've got 2 away games to the Bulls and the Sharks, so it's going to be tough, but they've given themselves a chance. They've 7 in a row, including a tour of Australia and New Zealand, plus a few home games, so it's been going well. This game statistically was pretty even. Territory and possession all pretty even. Tackling percentage is not bad for both teams. The Stormers line-out still continues to struggle. It was operating at 77% this week, which is disappointing. Jaguares were at 100. The Stormers line-out's been one of the worst in the competition. It's bottom 3 in terms of their line-out success on their own ball, so that's really costly. So yeah, I mean, this leaves the Jaguares on 38 points and in 7th, 3 points behind the Lions, who are top of that South African conference on 41, and only a couple of points behind the Highlanders, and then 3 points behind Chiefs. So the Jaguares are well in that playoff spot. They're by all means most likely gonna make it, unless other results don't go their way and they can't do the job themselves. But they've got their destiny in their own hands. So it'd be great to see an expansion team finally crack the playoffs and see how they go. But yeah, there's still a bit of work ahead of them yet. But it's amazing the difference putting on that Jaguares jersey has made compared to what we've seen from the Pumas. So yeah, interesting round of rugby. A few upsets for sure. I mean, apart from the Highlanders, all the home teams had victories, although that home result is kind of a neutral venue for that first one anyway. So yeah, what did you guys think of the games? Is this decision to play at a neutral venue going to cost the Highlanders, do you think? Can the Chiefs pip the Hurricanes for 4th? Bulls fans disappointed, some Wolves happy, I would imagine. Sharks, you've still got a lifeline, but you've still got a bit of work to do. Lions. Yeah, I mean, the Lions will be watching games because they got the bye next week. They'll be hoping that the Bulls and I think the Stormers do them some favours. They need I think the Sharks in that final round as well. They need the Jaguares to lose some games, and the Waratahs as well. So they'll be hoping the Sunwolves get a result next week. So yeah, we'll see how things go. You guys let me know your thoughts on the results, and I'll talk to you again for some power rankings too. All right, I'll see you later.